Why did the Ukrainian counteroffensives fail, despite training and support from Americans and NATO countries? This is the question we'll strive to answer today. We'll explore the landscape of this military conundrum, where the Ukrainian forces trained by the Americans and NATO countries found themselves in a challenging situation. Their arsenal was bolstered with formidable weaponry, including the Leopard tank, infantry fighting vehicle, Javelin, Stinger, and Patriot air defense systems, among others. Yet the long-anticipated counteroffensives stumbled. Was this failure the catalyst for President Volodymyr Zelensky's decision to dismiss his top general Valery Zaluzhny? Do the Americans and NATO allies still harbor faith in Ukraine's ability to launch another counteroffensive? What additional weapons does President Zelensky believe could tip the scales in Ukraine's favor? To comprehend the reasons behind this failure, we must first delve into the chronology of the events. The journey begins with the training of Ukrainian forces by Americans and NATO countries. The Ukrainian military underwent an extensive training regimen, spearheaded by American and NATO military experts. This was a comprehensive program, designed to equip the Ukrainian forces with the necessary skills and tactics to effectively combat Russian aggression. The training encompassed a wide range of military disciplines, from infantry tactics and armored warfare to intelligence gathering and air defense operations. The aim was to transform the Ukrainian military into a formidable fighting force, capable of standing toe-to-toe with the Russian military. This was no small task, given the vast disparity in numbers and resources between Ukraine and Russia. Nevertheless, the trainers were confident that with the right training and equipment, the Ukrainian forces would be able to hold their ground. The soldiers were put through rigorous physical conditioning and combat drills, designed to foster teamwork and discipline, as well as to hone their combat skills. They were taught how to operate advanced weapons systems, navigate minefields, and respond to artillery and airstrikes. They were also trained in the use of drones, which have become an integral part of modern warfare. The training also included a strong emphasis on strategy and tactics. The Ukrainian officers were taught how to plan and execute complex military operations, including counteroffensives. They were given lessons on the principles of warfare and how to exploit weaknesses in the enemy's defenses. The culmination of this training was a series of war games, where the Ukrainian forces had the opportunity to put their newly acquired skills to the test. These exercises were closely monitored by the trainers, who provided feedback and guidance to help the soldiers improve their performance. The expectations were high. The Ukrainian forces had been given the best training that the Americans and NATO could provide. They were now a well-equipped, well-trained fighting force, ready to take on the Russian military. With the forces trained and ready, the next step was the provision of advanced weaponry. The American and NATO support didn't stop at training. It extended to equipping the Ukrainian forces. A whole array of advanced weaponry was provided to give Ukraine a fighting chance against the Russian invaders. Among the notable contributions were the German-made Leopard tanks, renowned for their superior fire control system and robust armor. These beasts were expected to spearhead the counteroffensive, offering an edge on the battlefield. Then, there were the infantry fighting vehicles designed to transport troops while providing direct fire support. Their robustness and versatility made them a valuable asset in urban warfare and open-field confrontations alike. But the support didn't end there. The Javelin anti-tank missiles, known for their fire-and-forget technology, were also part of the package. Their top attack capability was seen as a potential game-changer, capable of neutralizing even the most heavily armored of adversaries. Stinger and Patriot air defense systems were provided to counter the threat of Russian air superiority. These systems, with their proven track records, were expected to keep the skies clear and protect Ukrainian forces from aerial bombardment. Despite this, the counteroffensive didn't go as planned. But why? Was it the weapons? Or was it something else? These questions and more were on the minds of military strategists and analysts across the globe. And the answers were far from clear-cut. With the forces trained and armed, it was time to launch the counteroffensive. The counteroffensive was launched with high hopes and a determination to reclaim Ukraine's land. The strategies that were put into play reflected the extensive training of the Ukrainian forces and the superior weaponry that had been provided by their NATO allies. The initial stage of the counteroffensive was marked by an aggressive push from Ukraine into the disputed territories. The Ukrainian forces, equipped with the likes of Leopard tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and an assortment of advanced missiles, took the fight to the Russian invaders. Their aim was clear: to find a vulnerable point in Russia's defenses and create a breakthrough that would turn the tide of the war in their favor. On the Russian side, there was an apparent sense of surprise at the intensity of the Ukrainian counterattack. The Russians, in a bid to prolong the war and prevent a decisive Ukrainian victory, found themselves on the back foot. They were forced to retaliate with everything at their disposal, from tanks and artillery to drones and airstrikes. However, the counteroffensive was not just a test of military strength but also a battle of wits and strategy. The Ukrainians had to navigate through minefields, avoid air attacks, and stay one step ahead of the Russian forces. It was a high-stakes chess game, with each side trying to outmaneuver the other in a bid to gain the upper hand. Despite the onslaught, the Russian forces managed to hold their ground. They were able to utilize their superior knowledge of the terrain and their well-established defensive positions to resist the Ukrainian advance. And while the Ukrainians had made some gains, the overall success of the operation was still in question. However, despite the preparation and support, the counteroffensive didn't go as planned. The anticipated success of the counteroffensive was not realized, but why? This is the question that has stumped military analysts, politicians, and the curious public alike. To begin, let's look at the battlefield itself. It was a landscape fraught with danger, filled with minefields that threatened to immobilize or destroy the Ukrainian forces' newly acquired equipment. The Leopard tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, despite their formidable prowess, were not impervious to these hidden threats. Each step forward was a gamble, a balancing act between advancing and preserving the integrity of their forces. But the land was not the only domain where danger lurked. The skies above were equally perilous. Russian air attacks posed a significant threat to Ukraine's forces. Despite having the Stinger and Patriot air defense systems, the sheer intensity of the aerial onslaught was overwhelming. It was a barrage from above that impeded progress and hampered the effectiveness of the counteroffensive. And then there was the formidable Russian defense. The Russians, experienced in warfare and equipped with advanced technology, were not a foe to be underestimated. They had fortified their positions, ready to repel any attempts to breach their lines. The Ukrainian forces, despite their training and newly acquired arsenal, found breaking through this defense a Herculean task. All these factors combined created a formidable wall of resistance that the Ukrainian counteroffensive struggled to surmount. It was a complex interplay of land, air, and enemy defenses that led to the unfortunate stalemate. The counteroffensive, hailed as Ukraine's chance to reclaim its land, was not able to achieve its objective. And this failure was not without its repercussions. The inability to make significant gains and the losses suffered led to a shakeup in the Ukrainian military leadership. The top general, Valery Zaluzhny, was relieved of his duties by President Zelensky. This move was a clear indication of the gravity of the situation and the urgency to change strategies to turn the tide of the war. The failure led to significant consequences, including changes in the Ukrainian military leadership. And now, as Ukraine regroups and strategizes anew, the world watches with bated breath, hoping for a resolution to this conflict. The failure of the counteroffensive brought about changes in the Ukrainian military leadership. The most significant of these was the dismissal of General Valery Zaluzhny. His removal raised eyebrows, but it was a move that President Zelensky deemed necessary. The reason? To inject fresh strategic thinking into the Ukrainian military ranks, to pave the way for a renewed counteroffensive. The task of leading Ukraine's military forces now lies in the hands of General Oleksandr Syrsky, a man who has not only led Ukraine's ground forces since 2019, but also a man who led the Ukrainians' force in the eastern city of Bakhmut against Russia's Wagner Group. Even though General Oleksandr Syrsky takes over the head job at a challenging time, he's someone who understands the intricacies of modern warfare, and a man who is determined to reclaim his homeland. The question that remains is, do the United States and NATO still believe in Ukraine's potential for another counteroffensive? The answer seems to be yes. Despite the setbacks, the consensus among military experts is clear. It is too early to write off Ukraine's efforts. The road to victory may be fraught with challenges, but they believe that Ukraine has what it takes to navigate this path. The faith of these allies is not unfounded. They see the spirit of the Ukrainian people, their resolve to protect their sovereignty, and their willingness to fight until the last breath. This belief is not just in the military might of Ukraine, but in the spirit of its people, the spirit that has historically turned the tide of many battles. President Zelensky, for his part, has his eyes set on the future. He believes that the right weapons can make a difference in the fight against the Russians. But what are these weapons? The answer lies in a combination of advanced technology and strategic prowess: tanks, drones, air defense systems, missiles, and most importantly, President Zelensky believes the key to push back the Russians is the America's F-16 fighter jet. All these weapons have a role to play, but the real weapon, as per Zelensky, lies in the hands of the Ukrainian soldiers, their courage, their resilience, and their unyielding commitment to their nation. While the previous counteroffensive failed, the future holds a new set of challenges and possibilities. Ukraine, backed by its allies and led by its fearless soldiers, is gearing up for the next round. This time, they are not just fighting for their land, they are fighting for their future. A future that they hope will be free of conflict. A future where peace reigns supreme. So, revisiting our initial question, why did the Ukrainian counteroffensives fail? As we've explored in this analysis, the reasons are multifaceted. First, the challenges of the battlefield, including minefields and air attacks, significantly hindered progress. The Ukrainian forces were trained and equipped with advanced weaponry, but the practical execution proved to be a demanding task in the face of an entrenched adversary like Russia. Second, the psychological warfare employed by Russia played a significant role. By portraying Ukraine's efforts as futile, they sought to undermine international support and morale within the Ukrainian ranks. Lastly, we mustn't overlook the fact that warfare is an unpredictable endeavor where outcomes aren't solely determined by training and equipment. Tactical decisions, the element of surprise, and even a bit of luck can tip the scales. While the past can't be changed, it can certainly provide valuable lessons for future endeavors. Share your thoughts in the comment below, and please subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.